What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Hill Shadows podcast, our 15th episode. My name's Jeremiah, and I'm here with Ashley. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week, an even better weekend. It's a rainy weekend here in Kentucky, or central Kentucky anyways. And that's a good weekend to talk about some strange encounters, some scary, paranormal, unexplainable things. That's what we cover here on this channel. If you like that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button. Or if you have an encounter you want to share, you can email us at hillshadowsky@yahoo.com, and we'd love to share your story. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week. I'm not a big fan of the rain myself, but I guess it does give everything a bit of refreshing and washing away the old, I guess. So it's needed when we get it. But I'm never a fan. I don't really like thunderstorms. Unlike Ashley, she loves thunderstorms. I do not like storms. My anxiety is a bit too much for that. I'm always on edge when it storms, especially like overnight. I can't sleep through a storm. I hate that maybe one day, but not right now. But yeah, pretty laid back week. Not a lot happening. We did get to attend a little. What was that event we were at last night?
Battle in the Saddle.
What was it called?
Battle in the Saddle.
Battle in the Saddle. This was a event of horses and wrangling of cows, I believe.
Not wrangling.
Not wrangling?
Yeah, I can't remember what they call it. It's like where they will call a number and they have to herd.
They herd
3 of this specific number cow into the the gate thing.
Pretty cool event at the horse park. There was a girl injured.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And our hearts go out to her and her family. Hopefully, she is doing much better today. I just got a couple encounters I want to get into, and won't keep you guys here too long today. Normally we would have our podcast uploaded by right now, but we weren't able to get to it last night. We're doing it right now though, so you'll be listening to this on Sunday. Maybe Monday if Sunday is a little too busy or something, but we'll get it to you. But I found a couple of encounters. I believe one is in Georgia, one is in Virginia. Again, I found these on Reddit. A couple interesting posts. I try to research across the platform as much as I can just to see what I can find, and a lot of it is clearly fiction or fan written stuff, or it's pretty easy to discern the things that are actual encounters, and there's a alarming amount. I found one that I wanted to share simply because it was alarmingly similar to one I shared last week that happened in Red River Gorge. First, I want to get to this encounter in the North Georgia mountains. This happened in late summer of 2018, and this comes from the Reddit post Dogman, and from the user Marion Berry Wild 5401. I'll leave the link in the description. And unless you have anything to add, I'll go ahead and get started on this. This is our 15th episode, by the way.
All right. I do not, so.
It's kind of a landmark, 15. That's, we've been at this a little while. And still, we have no video to it, but that should have changed by next week, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to get into this. This is called My Encounter in the North Georgia Mountains. This incident happened in late summer 2018. It was in the mountains of North Georgia. I'm a surveyor with 20 years experience in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and North and South Carolina. So I'm extremely comfortable in the woods as I spend so much time outdoors, most of that time being very far back in the forest. And a great deal of it is on national forestry land. where you don't see anyone for days at a time. On the day it happened, I was surveying a piece of property around a small Corps of Engineers lake, a, a small Corps of Engineers lake bordering a large tract of national forest land. I was operating a robotic survey total station, which means you don't need a partner to run a survey crew, and instead of having 2 or 3 people on a crew, you generally work alone. The property was fairly large, approximately 500 acres, made up of mostly steep mountains and hollows covered in dense mountain laurel. I had just finished up cutting a traverse line along the property line running to the top of the ridge, roughly 350 to 400 feet away with my machete. Traverse lines are typically about 5 foot wide and cut as close to the ground as possible to ensure a line of sight for the instrument. I just walked back down the slope to get ready to traverse the top of the ridge when I noticed someone or something hairy wearing what I originally thought was a hat slowly walk across the opening that I just made a few minutes earlier and stop to look at me. It had a large hand reaching up to grab the tree limb it was next to. At the time, I thought someone must have been walking or hiking the top of the ridge, as it's not uncommon to see people from time to time. But then I realized it was way too hot to be wearing a large shaggy brown jacket it was in the high 90s. And as it stared downhill at me, I could make out pointed ears on top of its head and a long snout. Then it slowly walked out of sight. At this point, I took out my headphones and started paying closer attention to the situation. As I took out my headphones, I realized it was dead silent in the woods, and in Georgia during the summertime, it's always extremely loud with insects. I waited a few minutes and walked to the top of the ridge to grab my equipment that I seriously considered leaving and see what was going on, and noticed disturbed vegetation leading in the direction I saw it walking. Thinking harder about what was happening, I realized that the lower limb on the tree I saw it walk behind as it went out of sight was right at 6 foot tall, and what I originally thought to be a jacket was fur. That's when it all set in and I got really scared. I could hear something moving in the short distance coming from the area it walked, so I decided to start making the 45 to 50 minute walk to the truck. I could hear movement up on the ridge parallel and above me during my walk back, but I didn't think it was moving in reaction to me necessarily, although I wasn't willing to wait around and find out. I made it to the truck, and since then I've only told 2 people about my experience. That was pretty much it as far as the encounter goes. I know it wasn't a bear, as I've been around them my whole life and see them all the time. I've definitely been deep in the woods on several occasions and experienced all sounds and signs of life just disappear at the drop of a hat. It takes on new significance now. I carry a pistol every day, and on some occasions a short rifle if the job calls for it due to bears, wild dogs, finding illegal pot growing operations, etc., but I can definitely say it brought me zero comfort on that day. I was scared to my very core, and have a new sense of respect for the woods now. I would advise that if you work alone in the woods, please pay close attention to your surroundings. I think a lot about what might have happened if I didn't look up when I did, or if I'd been a little slower walking back downhill, as I was probably very close to it with my back turned before walking downhill with my headphones on listening to Joe Rogan. If it wanted me, I wouldn't be here today. I firmly believe I was within mere yards of it up on that ridge with no idea I was being shadowed by a monster. People go missing all the time in the woods and are never seen again. I believe I know what takes some of them as I've seen it. Whether you believe me or not is of no consequence to me, but it took me a long time to feel comfortable telling anyone about my experience. If it helps one person pay attention in the woods, I'm happy to be called crazy over it. Stay safe and please watch your kids in the woods above anyone else. God bless. That's a pretty cool little story from North Georgia.
Yeah. Most of the stories that I have found about Dogman are
around that area, right?
Yeah, well, they're also like very short little things. Like it's not
Not real
You know,
lengthy
it's not
encounters.
lengthy at all. I found a few little stories that are like, I mean, that one's actually a bit more detailed than the ones that I found.
Well, if you've got one about Dogman, let's go ahead. Let's hear it.
You may, okay. Let me pull one up. Just a minute.
Or if you don't have anything ready, I can go on
Oh,
tomorrow.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Let's see which one. These were from something like the Story of Kentucky, medium.com. Said one particular memorable Dogman account came from a 13-year-old girl named Courtney who lived out of Reed City, Michigan back in 1993. She decided to sneak out for a cigarette behind her family's house one winter, and she got the scare of her life. She claimed that a glint of light seeping out of the planks of an old abandoned barn got her attention. She followed its movement, and slowly it dawned on her that something was there. She realized the 6-foot-tall thing hiding in the barn had the head of a dog and was staring right at her. She ran off, terrified. Later, her neighbor confirmed that they, too, saw a creature out of that barn, or out in that barn. They described it as a buffalo-sized dog lurking in the barn.
Wow.
I have another one, too, if you want me to
Yeah,
go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
While driving on an isolated road in Lansing, Michigan area in May 2006, a man named Ron slowed down for what he thought was a deer. All of a sudden, a human-like hand, except much larger than a normal man's hand, reached over the edge of the hill, and this huge silhouette came into view. What came out of the darkened hills was a massive man with a wolf-like face. It was much larger than a normal man, and it had a wolf-like face, and its eyes reflected in my headlights. It just sat there and looked across the field on the other side of the road, and then it just very calmly turned its head and looked right at me. Yeah.
Wow. Are they? Do you know where these are from or anything?
Yeah, both of them were out of Michigan.
Out of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's the original
It is the
spot where
original.
the Dogman was first sighted. And we have an episode where we cover specifically that. This is one of our earlier episodes, which this will be in a playlist with the rest of those if you guys want to go check back some of our other stuff. You really start tying things together after you study so many different cases. And that's kind of what led me to my next one, because last week we had talked about a possible Wendigo sighting.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that stuck out to me most was the description of the skin, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Dolphin colored skin. It was real.
Sometimes I wonder that, like, the Dogman, are they like shapeshifters possibly?
I get the I get the vibe that they probably are.
Yeah, me too.
But then again, who knows? Because it almost seems like if you didn't get the right view of a Dogman, then they could be very easily confused with a Sasquatch, right?
Oh, a Sasquatch would not like to hear that.
They wouldn't like to hear that. I
From
hear
what
they're
I've
mortal
researched.
enemies. I don't know if either one of them really exists, but I'd like to think that both of them do. I don't believe everybody's lying, but I don't know what they are exactly, so. But yeah, I've got another encounter about another possible Wendigo sighting.
All right, let's hear it.
And this one comes out of Virginia. I wanted to say West Virginia. I don't know why, but it's out of Virginia. And this is under the Reddit heading Wendigo Stories. And the user that posted this was a user by the name, I guess I'm saying this right, MaldoMama88. MaldoMama88. And that's who posted this. And the thing that stuck out to me about this is the way she describes I'm assuming it's a she because it's Maldo Mama, right? It could be a dude.
The mama part.
I don't know.
It could matter. Anyways.
You know.
The way this person describes.
The skin. It's the way they describe the skin. It's a pretty brief story. It's not a lot to it. But then again, I think this was a pretty brief encounter, so I'll get into it.
Oops.
It starts I can't even get the first word right, so who knows how the rest of this is going to turn out. Hey everyone. So my whole life, I've had paranormal experiences, from seeing ghosts, objects moving, But what happened to me and two other family members was truly like nothing I've ever experienced before. This all happened last year, early in October. And this was 2021, so this would have been 2020 when this happened. My brother and I both have an adventurous side and love anything paranormal ever since we experienced seeing ghosts in our very first family home. So this particular night, we wanted to go ghost hunting. Keep in mind, we're not experts, but we felt confident we would experience something, at least on our recorder app on our phones. We had my brother's wife company. We had our brother's wife's company along with us just to have some more company with us. We live in Virginia. We live in Virginia Beach, but traveled all the way to Jamestown to go to the battlegrounds and do an EVP recording in the dunes there. Anyways, it was around 1 a.m. when we got there, and we were pumped, especially because the night fit the mood. I was feeling really cocky, so I went ahead of them about 6 feet away. My brother was the only one with an actual flashlight, and the rest just had our phones, but our lights weren't on. We only had them for the paranormal apps we had installed on them that we were going to use once we got to the dunes. Anyways, it was about 10 minutes from when we got there. So far, we're walking, and all we see are plaques about the history of the battlefield and tall grass above 6 foot tall in certain areas of the battlefield. We saw the dunes in the distance, and while we were walking towards them, I noticed movement in the tall grass. So I turned towards it and saw a tall creature peeking out of the grass in a hunched over position. It was long and lanky. It was the shape of a human. It was in the shape of a human although everything was longer, the hands, the fingers, and the face. Its color was white, more like a fluorescent white, kind of like when it's a full moon and it glows. It was just looking at me, and the second I noticed it, I heard my brother in the back say, "What the F is that?" referring to the same creature. He shone his flashlight at it, and the creature turned towards him and vanished behind the grass in the blink of an eye. I believe it was going to go towards me, not knowing my family was behind me. I'm assuming he thought I was alone by the way he turned towards my brother, almost like he was confused too. As soon as it vanished, I took off running back to the car, but my brother yelled at me to walk because it might chase us. So I just speed walked to the car, trying not to yell at the top of my lungs. When we entered the car, we locked it, and I asked to describe what they saw, and we all saw the same thing. Safe to say we're never going back there again at night.
Wow.
So yeah,
She was about to be a late night snack.
clearly she was about to be a late night snack.
Huh.
And the skin description is alarmingly similar. I feel like this person...
Did I miss the part about the skin?
Yeah.
Or just the glistening? Like the
It
glowing?
said the skin was white, and
So nothing about fur?
no, this was a Wendigo.
Oh!
Yeah, there's no fur on Wendigo.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's see, where's the part about the skin? The skin was white.
I don't know why I was thinking...
But they said it was more like a fluorescent white. Kind of like when it's a full moon and it glows.
Yeah,
so
I remember all that.
I feel like that's dolphin skin, right?
Could be. Yeah, I mean, it does that, right?
So this is a second encounter that we've read about. And both of these probably happened in very close times of proximity to each other, right?
Yeah, and not far from one another.
Not far from each other. It could have been the same creature for all we know. So if you see this thing out here, let us know. It's running around in the Virginia, Kentucky area. Could have moved farther north, east, south, or west. But it might have a family. There could be more than one of these things.
They sound like, to me, like those, a rape.
It does sound like a rape. I believe that if you would have encountered one of these things, you very well may say you encountered it. rake is a real thing, but I do think that a lot of people think that these things probably are rakes. I don't know what they are. By the description of the skin, I have to assume that they're either some type of aquatic creature or they live underground part of the time, because their skin always seems to be glistening or look shiny. And that doesn't seem typical of any kind of creature that would live above ground and out of the water, right? I'm pretty sure sunlight would do some damage to some skin like that. Always, it seems like seeing them at night, so they're out at night, which means they probably don't like the sun. But then again, they could spend most of their time on a spaceship. I don't know where they come from. I don't know what they are. But if you guys have any encounters or have any knowledge of these things, I would love to hear it. And again, if you didn't catch the email address earlier, it's hillshadowsky@yahoo.com. And this is going to be a short one tonight. Not going to keep you guys too long. So I hope you enjoyed both accounts tonight. If you have any stories you want to share, please send them to the email address that we mentioned, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our weekly uploads. And next time we should have video for you guys, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to try really hard to make sure that happens.
And next week, I'm going to let Ashley decide what the topic is, so... Oh, yes. So you have no excuse not to be prepared next week.
Hold on. Okay, I'm not going to get into
I wasn't prepared until about an hour ago, but, I got prepared.
It's been a little bit hectic this week.
It's been really hectic. Another thing I've been doing is I had to get a new album upload. I always want to say CD, like people listen to those anymore. But yeah, I'll be doing that for my other YouTube channel. So yeah, a lot of stuff keeping us busy. But hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you guys next.